And, of course, the Caps and the Wizards playing, and the football Terps playing a bowl game on the 26th. But all eyes on Christmas afternoon. We're either going to have some really tasty eggnog and some hot toddy in the evening, or the season's going to be virtually over in one town or the other. Of course, Pittsburgh with a better chance for a wild card. This guy does sports radio each and every afternoon at ESPN Pittsburgh. He is available out on Twitter at David M. Todd. We welcome David Todd back onto the program from the Berg with Yins and that. And what a matchup, right? I mean, the schedule makers probably got this one right.
Yeah, Nestor, good to be with you, and happy holidays to you and your listeners. It is. It's a matchup, Christmas Day. I think a lot of people looked at the calendar when it came out, and the Steelers also playing on Thanksgiving, and said, this is terrible. We got a home game on Christmas Day. But the way it's worked out with the schedules, the records, it being the marquee game of the weekend and at a 4:25 start, I think people are genuinely excited about it in Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, and I would say it's not going to happen every year that you're going to have Christmas sort of wrecked or replanned or whatever. We had Thanksgiving here a couple of times as well, and, there are members of the fan base that's never going to sit well with, and I understand that. I respect that. But I would say of all the two places in America where you could pull this off, where football isn't religion, but it's right up there, it's maybe number 2 or number 3, they take football seriously there and here. And, from our side of the fence, nobody's tailgating here or doing any of that, but it's going to upend Christmas. I mean, there won't be a place in Baltimore where it's not on the television for sure.
Right. And the nice thing is, I'll tell you what I think is great is the 4:25 start's great. So if people want to celebrate in the morning and have their Christmas meal at 1 o'clock, they can do that and get to the game. It doesn't really, it doesn't take up the early part of the day with the 1 o'clock start. And 8:30, 8:30 is just tough on anybody, particularly anybody our age, Nestor. Once you get past 25, 8:30 seems a lot less interesting. So they don't have the Christmas Eve aspect or the Christmas night aspect of things. So 4:25, 4:30, whatever it is, fits right in the schedule. Should be a fun day, and the weather looks like it'll be okay. It won't be 15 degrees. It looks like it's going to be in the 30s, so that'll help out as well.
Well, we're going to find out if you get the best version of the Ravens, but certainly from the Steelers' perspective, 5 wins in a row, some better health than the last time, certainly for number 7. This feels like a taller task, especially when you consider that, the Ravens have bloodied the Steelers' noses plenty of times here. At some point, it's going to turn, and the Ravens are going to lose one. That being said, the loss of Jimmy Smith, that's the thing that concerns me. That's what's keeping me up at night before Sunday, thinking the last thing you want to see is Brown go 12 catches, 184 yards, and that's how they lose.
Yeah, is he definitely out, Nestor? Because, Mike talked about it today and suggested that he may play, and my expectation is he wouldn't, so I don't know.
My expectation is that he will not play, but I'll say this, they have to plan for him, and I'm sure John's going to play coy all week, but if he is out there, it won't be a 100% version of him, and I think that's a liability unto itself, as you guys learned with Roethlisberger 6-7 weeks ago. It may have been better to rest him in that game after losing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it. He is an incredibly important part of that defense, and that'll be a big deal. And, you talk about the rivalry and things having to turn. Right now, there's no question the Ravens have the Steelers' number. And, you look at the Steelers. They've had the Bengals' number. They go into Paul Brown Stadium and win every week. So, it doesn't have to turn this week. The Steelers went in there. It was a close game. Obviously, they fell behind early and came back and won the game. Like these games generally are. I expect it to be physical. I expect it to be a relatively close game. I think what the Steelers did wrong in the matchup when they played the first time is they just stayed with the run game and did nothing else until the block punt at the end of the third, early fourth quarter. And they got in such a hole that they couldn't dig themselves out when they had a productive fourth quarter. They want to be balanced, but it looks to me, with the Ravens defense all along, it seems to be a little bit of banging your head against a wall if you want to try to run into Brandon Williams, which they tried to do unsuccessfully. So I would expect the Steelers to come out throwing the ball much more frequently, having some balance with Le'Veon Bell. They're not going to give up on the run before they get started. But, to come with a balanced attack and to be throwing the ball, hopefully for the Steelers, Ladarius Green can go. He's in concussion protocol. If he's able to go, that helps the middle of the field, the seams, along with Eli Rogers. Sammy Coates finally played a little bit of a bigger role this week. Not that he was particularly productive, but you kind of have to respect the deep ball with him. So it feels like, and the Steelers' offense, of course, has been so much better at home than on the road, that it feels like they're on the right track. But this Baltimore defense always scares me. They seem to, they scheme very well against the Steelers and Ben, and that's an issue.
What do you like about the way the Steelers are playing right now? What gives you hope that they could actually catch a little fire in January and be a Super Bowl team? I think that's one thing that's lacking here. I mean, our fans haven't been coming out to the games. It's kind of embarrassing, quite frankly. Tickets sold and people don't even show up and sit in the seats. This year, it's been weird here. I know you're a baseball guy too. It's been weird with the baseball team as well as the football team, but I don't get the vibe anywhere that fans here believe they can win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I think for the Steelers, with everybody healthy, they were one of the Super Bowl favorites coming in, and it's come full circle. I think it was the Patriots and then the Steelers coming into the season and a couple weeks into the season, and I think we're back to the Patriots and the Steelers, depending on what you think of the Raiders and the Chiefs. But I do think they're the two best teams in the AFC, and they play well at home. The concern for Steeler fans is, will they have to go on the road and go to Oakland or Kansas City, eventually go to Foxborough? How will Ben play in these road games? But I think the balance on offense, Ben's ability at the quarterback position, and then the fact that defensively things have changed dramatically, and it started with that Baltimore game where I thought the defense played very well. Keith Butler finally started to blitz much more frequently, have that be a bigger part of the package. They put the young first and second round draft picks in as starters, and you're going to see the first three picks are going to be starting on defense, and they're playing fast and they're playing physically, and they're pretty fun to watch. They still make mistakes. They still give up a couple, too many big plays, but this defense is much better and trending the right direction than where it was just when they got to Baltimore earlier in the season.
The road is a bitch, isn't it, right? I mean, for the Ravens, we haven't won on the road since September 25th in Jacksonville. They've only won on the road in Jacksonville and Cleveland, which aren't even really NFL franchises. They've lost in New York to the Jets during the year, and I know, you guys had those struggles up in Philadelphia as well, and against some more formidable competition, even at home with Dallas and New England. But to go on the road, for the Ravens to be playing at home on January 7th or 8th and to be a division champion, they're going to have to win in Pittsburgh and win in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been a house of horrors, and you know how this goes. The Ravens beat the Steelers beat the Bengals beat the Ravens. That's the way this thing's been going, and around and around and around. But winning 2 in a row on the road, man, I'm from Missouri with this, and I've been talking about it all week. This is a tough hill for the Ravens to think that they're going to win this division by winning twice in a row on the road in the division.
Well, and that's the test of a good football team. The Steelers have to show they can beat the Ravens, who've been the better team in the head-to-head matchups the past couple of years, or the Ravens have to show they can win on the road. So one of those two things is going to give. There has been a narrative around the Steelers that Mike Tomlin doesn't have his teams prepared against weaker teams when they go on the road. And now they just won 4 of the 5 games in this win streak were on the road against not great teams: Cleveland, the Colts, Buffalo, and then this past weekend in Cincinnati. So, but you still got to go win the games. And I think so often, even fans and analysts look at it and say, well, they're a better team, so they should obviously win the game. It's not that simple. Now the Steelers have done it, and they've been so good at home over the past couple of years. You remember the one game that Ben, torched the Ravens before then losing in the more important playoff game. That's what the Steelers are hoping to see out of Ben the last 2 weeks here against Baltimore and Cleveland.
We're getting Pittsburgh accents all week here as we head on to Christmas Day. It'll be the Ravens and the Steelers at 4:30 at Heinz Field at the Confluence. David Todd joining us here from ESPN Pittsburgh. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at David M. Todd, as well as at ESPNPGH.com. And also, you do a little Buccos, don't you? I mean, we don't talk much baseball around here in the offseason because our baseball team doesn't do much around here. Sort of ditto you guys, although there's that whole, trade McCutcheon, the whole trade Machado and break it up and all that stuff. Certainly for the Bucks, they're now in a division where there are 2 giants in the Cardinals and the Cubs, and the Orioles have the same problem coming back with the Red Sox and the Yankees, where those 2 franchises look to be back on top of their game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it would be intimidating as hell to be in the American League East, and I, put the Orioles and the Blue Jays in there. I mean, I can't imagine being a Rays fan every year, and Pirate fans kind of look at themselves as the Rays in terms of the budget they operate with. We've seen the Brewers and the Reds be good at times, and certainly this stuff cycles through. And the Pirates are trying to maintain kind of that competitive year in and year out balance, and that's a fine line to walk when you're working with a sub $100 million payroll. You really can't afford to make one big mistake. I mean, one big mistake can set you back a year or two. So that is the conversation. Believe it or not, Ness, after making the playoffs, at least a wild card game 3 straight years, it is an incredibly frustrated fan base that they took a step back last year. I think expectations are unrealistic, but they're no different than expectations for the Steelers and the Penguins. But those are obviously salary cap leagues. But that is.
We don't talk about the Penguins around here. It's Christmas week, okay? We don't discuss that around here. I have a red hat. Come on, man. You're killing me.
Understood. And it is the Penguins and the Rangers tonight. But it's fun. People are excited about their teams. They're passionate about their teams. So it is what it is with the Pirates. We'll see. But yeah, you're right. The McCutcheon stuff did dominate the winter meetings down right by you guys for everything that we were talking about up here.
All right, David Todd joining us here, talking all things Steelers and Ravens. All right, do you expect the Steelers to win on Sunday? I mean, I've already said I don't. If the Ravens win 2 games in a row on the road against these teams, they will have earned their playoff stripes. They will be, by its very definition, playing the best football of their season. They've only really played great in 1 game against Miami. The rest of the time, it has really been a mixed bag with injuries, with guys banging around, with misplays, balls going over their head, mismatches especially. And the reason I bring the Jimmy Smith thing up is, the big losses, the bad losses have been secondary related and matchup related on special guys like Odell Beckham, like Brandon Marshall, like Des Bryant, and now like these next 2 who we may see A.J. Green next week, certainly going to see Antonio Brown on Sunday.
Yeah, look, the Steelers are 9-0 when they hold teams to 20 points or less, and they're 0-5 when they give up 21 or more. It's pretty straightforward. I watched that game against the Dolphins, and the Ravens offense gave me pause because they looked fantastic. I just don't think they're going to be able to come into Heinz Field and do that unless Ben turns it over a couple times. So barring that, I think the Steelers win this game, 23-16, 22-16, something like that, in a typical physical game where, as always, in games that are 1-score games, if somebody wins the turnover battle by a couple, they probably win the game. But, I'm kind of with the lines makers and see this as a 5 or 6 point game that the Steelers come out on top.
You and I mean, we're not always going to get along as Baltimore, Pittsburgh, but we'll always have a better relationship than Steve Smith and Mike Mitchell, right? I mean, this is, it's about Hatfields and McCoys, just these franchises, going back to Rooney and Modell and, all the Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and then the Baltimore, Pittsburgh thing. It didn't take these guys long to catch on, did it? I mean, they don't like each other much.
It did not, and, Steve Smith is one of my favorite players in the NFL. Mike Mitchell has cleaned his act up and is playing the best football he's played as a Steeler. So that'll be another fun aspect to watch for on Sunday.
Hey man, we'll see you on Sunday at the game, David. Thanks for coming on, man.
Nestor, thanks for having me. Always great to talk with you.
You got it. ESPN Pittsburgh's the way to find him. David M. Todd out on Twitter as well. He hosts afternoons from 4 until 7. Also does a lot with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we'll get him back on maybe after the game, chat a little bit more as we get into the playoff spirit of things and the holiday spirit of things. Happy holidays to everybody out there this week. We're celebrating 25 years on the radio, doing all sorts of things. We have our trip to London now available up at WNST.net under the Trips tab. Just click there. All the details are there. It's on sale. You can give it as a holiday gift this week, and we've made a lot of arrangements to get that done. We think it's going to be a special trip next year. We expect tens of thousands of Ravens fans to go, and we expect you to join us, and we hope you do. We're certainly going to save you some money if you jump on our trip right now. The Buy a Toyota Audio Vault is there 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear. You can listen through the holidays. Take us home wherever you are. If you are visiting here and somewhere else is now home as a Raven or an Oriole or a Terps or a Caps fan, if you love Baltimore sports, you'll dig what we're serving up. Our morning newspaper delivers to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's powered up by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, work off the cookies and the eggnog and all that stuff you're going to be eating this weekend. I know I'm going to be eating some stuff as well. I'm going to be up in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Luke's on the back fields here all week as we await the big Christmas Day game. Anything you miss, you can find out there, and the breaking news will happen first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday driving you home and getting you ready for the holiday and the weekend. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.